All right, it's 10 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order and get rolling. Tracy, you want to do an attendance or no?
I can. I don't
Okay.
usually, but
Well, if you don't usually, don't worry about it.
I usually just note who's here.
Okay. This is the first one. So we'll go to B, discussion, policy 005. What did we need to discuss on that?
May I share, Chris?
Yeah,
Oh, thank you so much. Please bear with me, folks. I'll just give a little back history. And then Tracy, especially, if I remember something incorrectly, please step in, okay? For policy 005, I'm gonna guesstimate 4 months ago, 5 months ago, Mr. Koch was the presiding chair and I was on the policy committee with Tracy. And I breached the idea of potentially increasing the number of school board committee members to 4. Okay, because we have a couple committees where sometimes there's conflicts and there's just 2 committee members there. It happens. Well, after a long and lengthy, very educational discussion, Mr. Koch especially and Tracy convinced me completely that we should not have 4 board members on a committee. So that was the end of the discussion. Well, now these things pop up from time to time where you notice that due to an oversight or something new occurs, in policy 005, under officers, section 1, line item C. It does allow for school board members to be on a committee. So we have options here. We could go back and discuss the pros and cons of having 4 voting school board members on a committee, or we could just remove the word ex officio and just change that to non-voting. Or you can change ex officio to ad hoc. Robert's rules, ex officio has the right to vote, which takes us back up to 4 school board members. Ad hoc may attend, but no vote. Or you could just use English and say non-voting. So that is my suggested consideration after the conversations we had with Mr. Koch and Tracy months ago.
well, if you go down to board committees and even under committees, it states that standing committees shall consist of no more than 3 members of the board, except for finance, property, planning, which shall be a committee of the whole.
Mhm.
I think that it would put some people under a little more pressure to try to attend some of the meetings at 10 o'clock during the day. A lot of people are working.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of like,
Says
why are
no.
we reinventing the wheel?
Yeah, Elizabeth, I'm trying to find where you were saying about it being 4, where you said under officers. Where was that again?
Oh, when Mr. Koch, I'm going to say it was 4 or 5 months ago, I had just breached the concept that maybe we should consider increasing committee numbers from 3 school board members to 4. And
Right.
Mr. Koch and you both gave really good justification why we should keep it at 3. And
Right.
and so I said, I agreed because I thought your points were really good.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't understand what you're trying to change that. I mean, that's how we have it in this policy, that there's no more than 3 on a committee.
Right, but if the school board president is, it's just a glitch in the wording. If a school board president is an ex officio, that person always has a vote. So that means it brings it back up to 4. So if it's just changed to non-voting or ad hoc, the school board president, of course, he can, or she can attend any committee meeting, but they just are non-voting. So it stays at 3 committee members that can vote.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Because if you bring it to 4 members, then you could have a chance that the vote is a tie. You have no way of breaking it.
Right, and that's,
So-
you're right.
I think leaving it at the 3 is the way to go, because it'd be 2 to 1 or whatever, and it makes good discussion. And it doesn't tie everybody down to more meetings for the people that are working and doing other things.
Right, Chris, that's an excellent point, because what happens, and this is another scenario, let's say only 2 committee members show up and 1 committee member votes yes, the other committee member votes no. Well, then the president by our policy then has the right to be the 3rd vote
Right.
to break the tie.
And that's
But-
set that way for a
Yep.
reason.
Yep, so okay, well, thank you so much. So do you like ad hoc, or do you like the word non-voting? I mean, technically they mean the same, but it's just a matter of,
So if
you
it
want
means
Latin
the
or
sa-
English?
If it means the same, why do we gotta change it?
Well, because ex officio,
Yeah.
by Robert's rules, gives you a vote. Ad
right.
hoc, no vote, and the English
But
language
we're
is,
talking about giving somebody a vote if only 2 people show up.
if there's a tie, then the president, yeah, then the president would get a vote to break a tie,
Yeah,
but
I really don't understand where changing all this is gonna make a difference.
well, right now, I'm hopefully, please help me out, folks, if I seem unclear. Help me out. Right now, the way our policy stands is because the president of the school board automatically can vote in every single committee meeting, which means we have 4 voting members right now.
Okay,
And if you want to keep it only to 3 committee members that vote, you have to take away the 4th vote, which is ex officio, and it needs to be changed to ad hoc or non-voting.
but in every organization I've been involved in, statewide, community-wide, whatever, the president doesn't vote unless it's needed.
Yes.
So, and
And
that's,
that's how it's pretty much been for us all this time. It hasn't
Yeah,
been an
that's-
issue. I see what you mean, Elizabeth. I see. I mean, we can certainly talk about it, but just remember that we did state that the 0-0 policies, if we were to change anything, we would be looking at them during a retreat so that everybody the full board has a say on those, since they
Right.
are the board policies.
that's the summer meeting.
Usually, I was hoping to maybe get it done, be able to have time to do it when we meet with Mr. Draco, but doesn't look like that's gonna happen.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Judge, yeah.
It's okay. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Maybe we can see if we can find any other. This is coming from PSBA, isn't it? Yeah. So, I mean, we can look into it, and you can suggest the changes and then bring them to the retreat whenever we look at them as a whole board.
I think that's the best way to do it. Table it till we're all together and we can talk about it.
That would be lovely.
Okay,
Hopefully, President Butch will have a chance to get with us and set a date, and hopefully before summer, when everyone kind of scatters, but we'll see. All right, thank you so much. Done deal.
all right, let's move on to number 2, 701 AR5 naming of facilities. Who wanted to bring that one up?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm sorry I dumped, pardon my English, bad English. I wish I would have sent you that full complete file earlier. It just dawned on me. So not to add more noise or confusion, but the whole committee had all that information when we first started this, Lord, I don't know, year and a half ago, year ago. So it was my oversight that I didn't send it to you sooner. But that's what I believe Dr. Martin did, was she looked at all of the current policies that are out there from other school districts. And I put it in Word doc for her so she could just paste or whatever she wanted to do. So that's when she, whomever else she worked with, I don't know, came up with the one that is our draft. So they all have good things.
I read through a bunch of them this morning when I got them. And I just, at this point in time, being new to the board and everything, I think that we have more important things right now to deal with than trying to name facilities. I think that it's gonna cost us a ton of money getting everybody together all the time to change a name or do a name or make signage and everything else. And I don't see an advantage of it at this time. We gotta try and curtail some of the finances we're spending. And I think that this is, when you get down to it, it's gonna add a bunch of expenses. That's just my opinion on it. I understand some things are great, but it's gonna take a lot of time and a lot of stuff to put this whole program together. And I don't think we need to vote on it right now to do it. I don't think that all the i's have been all the i's dotted and the t's crossed yet. I had sent Dr. Redmond some stuff on a policy also, and he was gonna investigate it, so I'd like to hear what your thoughts are.
Quite honestly, I haven't had enough time with all the other things that I have on my plate right now. I apologize for not being.
I'm sure you got a full plate going on and a grocery cart.
Well, would you feel comfortable with this, Chris? That I've read over it and I've looked at the ARs, the background
Right.
things that admin put together for us. Thank you. Just sending it to PSBA, the Pennsylvania School Board Association, to have them review it does not mean we've adopted it.
Right,
But I would like for us to consider sending it to PSBA, letting them review it, come back with comments, and that'll take at least another month, if not longer. And then we would, if we so choose, then we could vote to send it to the solicitor for his recommendations, which would be another probably month or two. And again, at that point, we haven't adopted it. We're only putting it through steps that we normally or should take. So, I'd like us to do the steps with the understanding that it's not adopted, but at least it'll get us, maybe in 4 months, we'll
Do-
have feedback from everyone.
do we need, explain to me the need of why we need to name schoolrooms, hallways, buildings and everything else. What are we gonna gain?
Oh, that's a great.
Because this
yep.
is Keystone Central School District. We've spent millions of dollars making it Keystone Central Wildcats and everything else. And now we're gonna change all types of things. I've not seen anything that says what would be up to name, how much it's gonna cost. I've seen nothing on, if Dr. Redmond says, I want to put a building in my name, I'll give you $1 million. And Dr. Zangara comes back and says, well, I'll give you $1.5 million. We don't need to be in a bidding process and screwing up more tax dollars money on all this.
Yeah.
That's my concern.
Tracy, I'm sorry, I wasn't.
Go ahead,
no,
Tracy.
That was a good comment.
No, this is more, Chris, I think along the line of, for example, at Bucktail, when Mr. Hannebeck passed away, they wanted to memorialize him in the gym. And this policy I do think is important. so that it gives the district a little bit of control in case, a gym floor is named after somebody. I'm absolutely not saying Mr. Hannebeck in this situation, but anybody. And that person later on down the line does something horrid. We'll have the ability then to remove that. And it's just, I think the policy is going to be good, and it's not meant for, in general, naming buildings and anything to the highest bidder. It's more just in case somebody, somebody wants to memorialize someone or honor someone in a small way within the district. It's not really what you're thinking. I mean, it can be if that situation ever pops up, but in general, that's not what it's for.
Understand that. I just want to make sure we curb that at the beginning of it. Because several of these things I read through were like what building and what hallway and how do you pick? And I've not seen any of that in the policy that we're asked to vote on.
Well, those things are going to be in the policy. Those types of things probably won't be in the policy. The policy is just a general overview. In the ARs and through the committee that's formed is where those things will be discussed and approved.
Right, because I'm reading it right now in 701 AR5, naming of facilities. The naming of school buildings, portions of buildings, school grounds, a media center, auditorium, gymnasium, athletic field is a responsibility of the board. And then they're recommending that you get a superintendent to establish a committee subject to the board approval. The committee will be 2 board members, a superintendent or designee, the building principal, 2 staff members, 2 parents and guardians, 2 community members, and 2 students. This is all very confusing.
It may be confusing, but I'm pretty sure when Dr. Martin and Elizabeth and the committee talked about this, there was a reason for that, so that it's not just one person holding authority, that we have input from all stakeholders to see if it's appropriate and make sure that it's appropriate and done in the best way.
Right. Understand that. I want to make sure that we don't get in a bidding war and sell our school.
No, and that's something that we as a board can nix right away if necessary, if we feel that it's necessary. I agree with Elizabeth. I don't feel that there's anything wrong with sending this to PSBA for review or someone else for review. Because it is important, and just not even for the main reason of the bidding rights and selling ourselves. It's if something happens, if we do approve somebody at some point and something happens down the line, we have the ability to correct any issues and any mistakes.
Yeah, and to be clear on these ARs in here are just templates from PSBA. They haven't been looked at by the superintendent yet, so they're not set in stone.
This is kind of a starting point.
Template.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
And Chris, I can give you an example of something that's.
Oh,
sort
your
of-
microphone, please.
Oh.
Mr.
I'm not even sure where my closest one is. An example of where this could be beneficial. For instance, when I was at Williamsport, we had a policy like this. For instance, when we put a new turf field facility in, there was an ability for people that wanted to put, like corporations that wanted to put a significant amount of funds into the building of the turf facility.
Right.
Where it was at that time, it was UPMC that started, and then it turned into STA Bus Company, but they would put $500,000 in to have a piece of the turf with their name on the
Right,
side of
right.
it. For a certain amount of years, the policy was developed to say you give $500,000, it's 8 years. And then at the end of 8 years, if you want to re-up it, you can. If not, we'll just put a piece of green turf back in and there won't be any name on it anymore. But it was more like things like that. It wasn't.
That's why I'm asking for
Yeah.
that to be put in
Right.
this, because I haven't seen that anywhere in here.
Gotcha. I just want to give you an
want to
example.
define the terms before we send it off.
Gotcha. I
That's
just
all.
wanted to give you an example of just what it looked like from that perspective.
Cool. I appreciate
Chris,
it.
it's just going to be hard to put all those details in a policy and to reach everything. So that's kind of where the ARs come into place.
Understand?
Would you still feel uncomfortable if we send it off just for their review? I mean, we want to adopt anything.
I don't mind sending it off for review, but I want to see some of this stuff we're talking about before we adopt anything.
That's where I think we could really count on administration for the AR, and then they could,
Mhm.
if the committee and the school board so chooses at some point to then task administration to take the template that they've provided and possibly add, look at, change, edit, and then bring it back to us at some point in time, but I mean, I think that might be a waste of their time right now until we get feedback from PSBA and our solicitor. And then the board can discuss. But I've been really excited about this for a long time, but I want you to be on board.
All right. Okay.
Yeah? So do we need to, we don't really vote, but do we just recommend, how do you want us to do this, Chris? Just
We should probably take a vote,
okay,
just so that if somebody says, did you vote on it, we can say, yeah.
okay,
So somebody needs to make a motion to just send it to get PSBA's thoughts. And then when it comes back, we can go over it, and before we put it to the solicitor and spend all that money in case we need to change stuff ahead of time. So,
Chris, with your permission.
Sure.
If we can get a little bit of latitude, before we send it off to work on the ARs and include some of the things that, we heard you talk about today.
yeah,
So we'll
absolutely.
put together the AR and send that off for review.
that'd be great.
I've actually set a meeting already up for the next few days, so we can just set aside time specifically to work on it.
Thank you.
Good. All right, well then we'll hold off until you're ready to go and pull the trigger.
All right.
Great. Good
Okay, you
conversation.
good with that, Tracy?
Well, hold on. Yeah, oh, I am unmuted. Yes, I'm good with that. Thank you.
Okay. So we'll table that and we'll come back to it.
Good.
Next thing was the number 3, the request to name the facility form. Do we want to do the same thing until you come back with that?
Yes, please.
All right, Tracy, you good with that?
Yes, I'm fine with that. Thank you.
All right,
Good.
Elizabeth?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll
Makes sense.
table that along with it. Amending the meeting minutes. I read through this for the PSBA. I don't really know what they're amending. Because I don't know what it was before. But I didn't see anything in there that raised a big flag to me. If somebody else has any ideas on it.
It does say 2018 on the bottom, and I'll be honest with you, I did not look in our currently adopted policies, what year.
That's a fog, actually a fog.
Yes, it's not quite a policy, not
It's-
quite an
Right.
administrative regulation. It's a
Guidance.
Board operating.
Just
guideline.
guidance, yeah,
Yeah,
so,
so I didn't see anything in there that I needed to worry about. Did anybody
Mm-mm.
else?
no,
All right,
No,
well,
I'm good with it.
all right, I guess we'll just take that as an advisement, Tracy. We'll move on to number 5.
I think one of the things, if I may,
Yeah,
on that last issue, one of the things that came up as a question is which of the committee meetings we keep minutes for and executive sessions, and what we heard, correct me if I'm wrong, Tracy, but kind of what I read in that is that we don't have to take minutes when we're in executive session. And so that would go for parts of the security and parts of personnel and of course
Right.
executive session.
you don't have to have minutes taken for executive sessions. I've never heard of that.
Right.
But it is something that if you want to, for a further record to go back, if you need to go back and be reminded of something. Some places do it, most don't.
So just want
So,
to make sure that we're all clear.
what do you prefer? I mean, seriously, what does administration prefer? Do you want meeting notes for executives, or do you prefer not to have meeting notes for executives? Because I mean, technically, some of our board members, you know, that they're on executive committees and other board members aren't on executive committees, so we don't really know what was discussed unless it's brought up in the next executive session. So it's a catch-22, but I'm
Well,
I'm
that's the way
wondering,
it's supposed to be done though.
right, no,
Then
I
they're
know,
supposed to bring it to the whole board.
right.
So
So,
taking official minutes and you having notes on what happened, I think are two different things.
Right.
I would prefer us not to take official minutes. Because it
Muddies the waters.
muddies the water, right? So if you as a board member want to take individual notes that you keep as confidential and share in the executive session,
Right.
great.
that makes sense.
And I agree with that. I don't think we need to have somebody sitting there taking notes on every word that's said.
No, I see the value in that. I really do. But it would be nice though, to make sure that we all, when they do have the executive committee meetings, that we do
Well, that's up to that committee's job to come back to us.
come back to us. Okay, sounds good.
All right, number 5, the naming rights updates. I think we've kind of killed that. Well, KCSD, letter C, the policy silica review. I don't think we have anything to go over on that.
Well, Chair.
Sure, go
Chris?
ahead.
Thank you. Well, I think the previous policy committee, Dr. Martin had set it up so, unless of course something comes up, they sort of had a template, like they do the 00s or 001, the ones, the 2s, or 300s, excuse me. And that way, because PSBA in the drafts that we get, or, you know, through Tracy, it's on board docs, the draft policies, that's how we can stay on top of it. So we're not kind
Right.
of like, so I think maybe that's what you're looking for is what,
The reason there aren't any
Moving-
on there right now is that we're having an administrative review. We're in about the
Right.
100s, right? So we're between 160 and 125 in that range right now. So we have administrators that are reviewing those. We didn't get those in time for this meeting.
oh, we got,
So you'll see a bigger block of those come next
Right,
month.
okay, so you're gonna do like a,
We're gonna continue that.
oh, that's great.
yeah.
Good.
And we'll go
I
down.
did have one more thing, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Chair Chris. I'll just keep my hand up. I did notice, and I don't know if this maybe should be bumped up or not, but every year we have to, the school board members have to fill out the Ethics Commission Statement of Financial Interest.
Yep,
And in our board drafts policies, they have an update from January 2022. The
mhm.
current one that we're using is January 2019. Now, I honestly did not compare every line to see if there's a difference, but if there is a wording difference before we fill out the financial page, maybe we should have that one pulled for next month.
Having just gone through an ethics ordeal, filling out that form has to be done.
Mm-hmm,
We have no choice in it.
mm-hmm.
So I think those forms need to be filled out on the date that the state has set.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the need to change anything with it. Because maybe I don't understand
Oh,
what
here,
you're
maybe
asking,
We show you.
because we've
This might help.
not, this
Visuals.
wasn't presented to be seen.
Oh, no, this isn't a discussion topic for
I think it's
today,
just a new
but I'm just
form.
bringing it to your attention that this is the draft that we have. This is
So
our,
just make sure they have
this is
the
the new
newest
one.
form.
Right.
Okay, and it's in our draft. Where's policies? If you click on policies
Okay,
and then go to drafts. Where's, yeah, policy manual. Okay, no, where's yours? Huh,
Are you logged in?
oh, no, he's on public.
yeah,
Oh, that's why he doesn't see it. If you're logged in under policies, it'll show draft. And then it'll show this updated one.
okay.
And I just thought maybe for next month, if the committee decides they want to put it on for next month. Policies, here's your download.
Right,
Elizabeth,
Draft. Yes,
Elizabeth, when I look in the policies here, the one that I see is the 2022
Oh.
version.
My version at home, when I printed out, says 2019.
Yeah, I'm looking at the form here. Show you.
Oh, I hope
The
that'd be
form
great.
here, It says 122.
Now, are you in drafts or are you in our policies?
Yeah, draft policies. And this is the statement of financial interest.
Well, I mean, current,
Uh,
wait, the
Yeah,
down
I don't
arrow.
know.
There we go. Active. That's what you want. Active. There we go. Now, when you go over to the 000 and it's the bog, was it 006?
Financial interest. Four.
Here it is. Attention, a conflict of interest right here.
Oh, I thought you were looking at statement of financial.
Oh, yeah,
interest.
safe. Yeah, there it is. I'm so sorry. Now, if you click, open it up, please.
Yeah, that one
Sir.
looks like it's, okay, so it's in the.
And
draft.
then,
You just have to move it over from the draft.
Yeah.
into the act.
there it is,
Okay.
2019. Yeah. So maybe
Uh,
next month.
Since it's a board operating guideline, do we have to go through full approval?
Yeah,
I-
I don't think so.
I don't think so. We can just move it over and make a change.
I hope that would be
Yeah.
lovely, because then we can
Yeah.
go ahead and fill them out.
You can also do them online, which I find to be a lot easier than filling out that form.
That's what I do. I do mine online because I have to do them
Bless
for
you.
several different organizations.
know
I'm
we
involved
could.
with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can.
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
think the link is right on
I
the
think the link
form.
is on the
yeah, the
form,
link is
yeah.
on the form.
I just didn't know. I thought we had to physically hand it to you or email it to
No.
you.
Well, if you do it online, I do like to have, like, it, after you complete it, it'll give you a page that says you completed it. And if you would give me a copy of that, then I file.
Oh,
it in.
Yeah,
okay.
because what you can do is do it online, then you can print it off, and when you see Tracy, hand it to her.
Okay, super terrific. Did not know that.
Yeah,
Tracy, would you make sure that the new form is on the
Sure.
active?
I'll do that.
Thank you,
right
thank you.
now.
all right, and the next thing down was the D, the PSBA revision policy 254.
This is a new policy that PSBA recommends.
Right,
So I don't know if Christina was gonna.
I've seen this policy before.
This is, we do these, what it states in this policy anyway.
You gotta
So-
speak into the mic. Sorry.
What how the policy reads, those are activities and procedures that we do automatically anyway.
Right.
So, I think Dr. Redmond checked what, delineates an active service member and, everything aligns with that, attachment that's there, the code of, let me get in there. And that's a pretty lengthy document that spells out like all of the steps and the definitions. And we do all of that anyway, so I don't see any problem with this policy as it's written because it's what we already do.
But this puts it in writing for you.
Yes.
Yes, putting it in writing.
I did have a
And
question.
guidelines.
So what, on the PSBA policy, if you look at that, on the second page, and I think this is what you were referring to, just so you know, that, it says you can choose one of the two versions of the uniformed services.
This was my question.
And the second one is more broad, rather than listing out each branch of the military. It says all US armed forces.
Right.
So that's a choice that I'm recommending, but the committee should
No,
review that
nice.
and make sure that you're.
That was my
that's where
question.
You want to go with that?
I like broad.
I think broad is the way to be, because if you name different armed forces, there's so many, it's unreal. People think just Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard, but that doesn't cover it. So I think keeping it broad is the way to go. Do we want to make a motion and a vote on that to keep it?
I guess. I agree. Tracy?
Don't we just recommend that it moves forward to
Yep.
the full board
Yep.
consideration?
Yep.
What
It's a
I
vote.
Yep. And I did have one question, Chair.
I'm
on this.
sure you do. Go
I'm
for it.
sorry. I'm trained by science. You gotta look at the details. what happens if a military person is a foster parent? Does that still be covered in this, I hope?
Well, it should be.
Well, yeah, I mean, typically though, I think families who are in the military are not typically
No.
foster parents, but yeah, and they're also governed by their own rules anyway, so foster children have their own rules and expectation, which actually align pretty.
Great.
I
um,
actually know
like this.
several military people that are foster parents. That
Wow.
happens a lot more than you think.
Well,
And I think
That's
that they
great.
should be included because if they're willing to step
Mhm.
up and take care of a child and be a parent, then they should be included in this as well.
in the rules that govern the foster families, it aligns nicely with this because we
Beautiful.
have those. So there
I'm
would
happy.
be no
That's great.
reason to have to delineate if they were a foster parent because they would still fall under the same expectations.
Right,
Or we would still fall under the same expectations to respond to those children the same way.
okay.
Lovely. Thank you.
I think that can be moved forward then.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Good, good.
And the document that was, I was talking about that explains the definitions is the compact rules. And so if you click on that
Right.
attachment, it takes you to a lengthy document that describes everything that they were referring to.
Okay, good.
That's great. Happy to hear.
Anybody have anything else? We want to call it adjourn?
Grasping my hands. Don't worry.
All right, we're done.
Thank you so much. Good, good.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
You too, Tracy.
Yeah.